Record. Hello, everybody, and welcome to this session. My name's Dave Thompson, and it is my pleasure to be with the business voice coach extraordinaire, Maria Pellicano. Hey, Maria.
Hey, Dave. This is so exciting.
It is. And we're here for a very important session to give you guys some really important knowledge that will, essentially, the purpose of this session is to get you voice ready for the recording studio before you go and do your audiobook performance. Very important piece, because there's nothing worse than listening to an audiobook that is boring. So we do not want that to be you. And today, what Maria and I are going to explore is 10 top tips to get you recording studio ready. So Maria, thank you so much for being here. We've done some work together in the past, and it's really helped me expand my voice and even some singing stuff that's really expanded me. So I'm so glad that we get to do this interview. Tell me, Maria, why is voice, like why should people listen to this session? Why is it important to get your voice ready before you go into the studio?
Okay, because voice is way more than just speaking. It has non-verbal language in it. It creates perception. It also can fail on you. I mean, you can get tired. You can get fatigued and strained. You can feel limited, like you can't go on. You can also get boring and limited in the sense of not being able to go higher or lower. So not having enough flexibility and variety. Because of those things, it then can put you off even, wanting to speak or wanting to record your voice, or even listening back. Often people don't have a choice because they just land the voice that they have because they've never explored it.
And you were telling me about an audiobook that you just recently listened to by a very famous person in the spirituality. Was it Eckhart Tolle? And
no, it was David Hawkins.
Oh, David Hawkins, Power versus Force. And you were like, oh my gosh.
And it's a scientific kind of book. But the worst thing about it wasn't the content. I would have loved to absorb the content, but it was that methodical voice that just goes on and on and on. Because I bought the audiobook because I thought, this book is so thick, I'll listen to it. But I just couldn't bear it. I couldn't bear it because it was just so boring, and it was just monotone and robotic.
And that's what we don't want. We don't want that. So in a moment, we're going to go through 10 voice tips, and Maria's we're going to pretend as if I'm about to go into the studio, and Maria's almost going to, we're going to use these 10 tips to bring to life my voice.
Nice.
But Maria, before we get going, do you want to just speak a little bit about your background, about where you've been, like who you work with, and just so people can get to know you a little bit?
Yeah. Okay. So I've been working with voice for the past 20 years, predominantly teaching singers, but also teaching speakers, teachers, presenters, how to animate, how to perform their work, how to use their voice in a way that they can maximize it without strain or pain, fatigue, how to use their breath properly, how to actually almost choreograph a voice. So you're not just speaking, but you're learning to modulate it, how to pause, how to speed up some words, how to sometimes slow down some words, depending on what you want to say. So choreographing that and providing ideas around it by demonstrating the before and after effect. Okay, so this is what it sounds like now. This is what it's going to sound like after the training, and we record it and we compare the differences.
Awesome.
Not to mention, it also creates the joy in it better, because you can rest assured that you've had this checked out, and because what the voice that you hear inside your head is not the voice that's coming out, so nobody really knows what they sound like. So I've been doing this for 20 years, just empowering people to animate or to revitalize their voice, to perform it, to deliver it with expression, with their body, with their breath, and not just with their mouth.
Love it.
And I'm getting so excited, I'm going to take my jumper off because I'm already excited. So I have to do this.
I love the passion. And that's what it's about, is bringing the audiobook to life such that the voice is really beautiful to listen to, attractive, magnetic. People want to listen to it. And I would suggest that almost to the point where people go, hey, have you checked out that audiobook? It's delivered so well. You will love the book because the narrator, who's often the author, especially for our book writers, the narrator brings it to life, and there's an attractive quality.
So important. I mean, it's your voice. You are delivering your message through your voice. It is the vehicle. It's the ship. It's the plane that carries you to the person. You know, it's the vehicle. So it's so important that we have a tone that is being checked out, at least, you know, because how do you know that you're sounding annoying? Nobody's going to tell you. Friends get used to you. Family gets used to you.
Yeah.
You don't know that you're doing this the whole time, you know, like, you know, this is your sound, and it's going to go across the world. And there are people that have never met you, never seen your face, and they're going to hear your voice. And if that sounds like that, you know, these people don't know you. So an audiobook, I'm assuming, you know, our desire is for the book, or your desire would be for it to travel all over the world. So we need a tone that is understood across different nations.
And I think we're just diving straight in here, which is great. So that was our first tip, is tone. So that Maria's just shared a bit about why that's important. Maria, what are the like, and I'm asking this almost from like please teach me, and even feel free to coach me on my own voice, how I'm coming across now. What are the key things that I need to know about to have a great tone when I'm doing my audiobook?
Okay, well, you know, if you're going to say something serious and you want somebody to really think about that line, you may deepen your tone.
Right.
And create a warmth around it. So I'm lowering my larynx. I'm dropping my jaw. I'm relaxing my tongue, and I'm going to deepen the tone. Because here I want to really say that this is the crucial part of where I'm going. That tone is actually non-verbal. You know, so I'm dropping my tone. But if I want you to get really excited, because, you know, this is unbelievably like a new idea, it completely impacted my life. And I started to realize that, you know, it meant so much more than what I even thought. You know, I'm starting to energize, and I'm picking up the vibration into my cheekbones, you know, and my larynx is starting coming up a little bit, and I've got to be careful how much I stay in here, because this is going to create some strain. So if I was up here all the time, I'd be husky within an hour, you know. So now I'm dropping back down again.
Is that the thing with tone, is that what you're saying, is to vary the tone and to play with it, and not necessarily stay in one tone the whole time, but
Totally, 100%. I think a lot of people don't have choice, and they speak in one tone all the time. However, the reality is that emotions, different intensities change our voice naturally. However, I would say somebody who exercises their voice has much more choice around that, as opposed to being out of control. And suddenly my voice just squeaked, and I don't even know why it happened, you know. It's like, well, you know, you got stressed, your larynx went up, and you start to squeal. You see, so there's a lack of control. And I think what I'd love to teach is a bit more awareness and control around that, and then how to utilize it to communicate what it is that you want to communicate.
So what I'm hearing is that the larynx is an important part of tone. Is that right?
Yeah, so I can move it right up, or I can move it right down, but I can move it too low. And I see people talking like this because they think they've got to be really low, but to me it's quite hollow. By now it's too hollow. My vocal cords aren't closing down here, but up here they're just squeezing. Everything's just squeezing, and it's like really like bratty and nasally. And,
it's a bit
well, it's not nasally, but it's pharyngeal. It's like, it's not nasally, because it can sound nasally on some people. Some people got a permanent nose block like this. You know, they've got a permanent nose block. So I could teach them I could show them how to make a sound without it going into that nasal cavity. You know, if you've got sinus, or you've got confused with a cold, how to get away from that nasal area as best as possible. Not 100%, but there are ways of creating a sound away from that with consonants and vowels, you know.
Okay.
Consonants.
Awesome. So So if someone does have blocked nasal passages right before they go into the studio, then you need to speak to Maria, because she will show you the hot tip for that.
I mean, otherwise you're going to find it so hard, because half of the vibration is getting stuck. So it's like you're trying to strum a guitar or hit a cymbal on a drum, but there's a cloth on it, you know. Or you're trying to strum your guitar, but your hand's on the strings.
Right.
You're
So
blocking it.
In very simple terms, what would you, like in terms of tone and the larynx, like would you suggest that people, before they go into the recording studio, they have a bit of a play with tone?
Yeah, that's what we got to do on the coaching session. You know, let's play with it. Let's play with it. Send me 5 minutes. You play with your own voice, and let's see how much of it sounds real. And sometimes it can sound like a joke, because
you're putting it on too much.
Yeah, you're putting it on too much. It sounds like you're just trying it out. I mean, you will do that in the beginning, but it's got to become part of your, you know, like maybe you want to talk like this for a week with your family and friends and play with things and just see how people respond to you, and just see what kind of results you're getting. Because here we are now delivering our message, our book, to an audience who never sees your face, doesn't know you as a person. Right? And you've never played with your voice. Like, you're only going to deliver what you do every day. I mean, that's fine. But you're limited because you don't know how to modulate the variety. Most people don't know how to do that. And when they do it in the wrong way.
So you would say play with the tone and experiment with it with your family. And you know what? The other thing that is also popping to mind for me is that, like, there's a lot of smart people that come through the Book Writers program. Just us saying, be aware of your tones, I think would bring enough awareness for them to go, oh, well, sometimes I go here and sometimes I go here and sometimes I go here. I now have that awareness, so I'm going to play in different spheres.
That's right. Even having 3 different choices, you know, and those choices, by the way, are to obtain a particular result, okay? This is when I really want to zoom in on the importance of something. And I want somebody to really ponder on this, because this is my heading. You know, this is my summary heading. So I don't want to hype up anybody here. I just want to say this is important. But imagine me going, this is important. You know,
it's just a little. I mean, in that sense, it's a bit childish, isn't it? Like,
flashing.
Yeah. So is that the other thing that, like, the other thing that's popping to mind for me is that this isn't about acting or putting on a voice. It's about finding the authentic voice that exists within you and bringing that out into the audiobook. Would you agree?
Yeah. It's just that sometimes we say acting because, you know, when most of us are lazy, we don't want to do that. We just want to, whatever comes out. You know, we really don't think that our voice is really communicating so much more than just words. So we become blasé. We talk to our regular people. We're not understanding that voice is going to, you know, give so much more information. So therefore you suddenly feel like you're acting because, you know, it's
just a bit different to everyday life.
Yeah, I mean, you know, you got to decide to get out of bed in the morning if you want to stay in bed, you know. Well, pretend you've got energy, you know. What would it be like? Act as if, you know?
So that's maybe what it is if you feel like you're acting, it's the act as if.
Find other aspects of yourself, stimulate yourself. Who knows? Maybe you could become this fantastic communicator, not because of your words, but because of your passion that's tied to your voice.
Awesome.
And again, most of us don't know what we sound like. We really don't listen back to recordings. We hate the sound of our voice. Most people hate the sound of their voice. Not to mention, what are you missing out on by not having all these different expressions from high to low, feeling those vibrations through your body?
And is that where, can we go there now? Is that idea, because it's come up a few times, is the idea of being comfortable hearing your own voice? Because I know that when, like, earlier this year, I did my book, Living Outrageously, in the studio, and you walk into the studio, you go into your little box and you get the headphones on and there's the mic in front of you and you're doing your thing, and then you're getting it straight in the ear. Like, as soon as you speak it, it comes in the ear. How...
Do you like that? I mean, did you like that? Because I personally...
It was interesting.
I've been in studios many times. Obviously do a lot of songs.
Yes.
Recording. I mean, I've recorded 2 albums, written 20, 30 songs, you know. I've been in studios, like top studios in Melbourne, you know, and I find that thing back in my ear, I find absolutely annoying for me.
Mm.
Hearing it back into my ears is really, it distracts me from being here right now. So
you don't necessarily need to hear it? Is that what you're saying?
I have one off, one on.
Okay. That's good to know. That's good to know. So you can have one off, one on. Because for me, it was just, I basically just shut down my listening. When I got in there, I put on this tunnel vision. I'm like, there's the iPad. Here's the microphone. This is what I'm focusing on, and I'm rolling.
Hard work, Dave. But it was too hard work. You had to shut down your listening. We're not made that way to shut down our listening when we're speaking.
So what would you recommend to people to book writers who are going into the studio? I mean, first of all, if they put the headphones on and they're totally fine with it, then that's fine. Just continue.
Well, you don't have to listen to yourself back like that.
Okay.
You can, as long as the producer's listening, right?
Yes.
And you've done some practicing,
yes.
You don't have to hear it in here,
mm-hmm.
really. You're still hearing it out there, even though you're in a room and in a bubble, and I understand it's soundproofed and it's not the same as in a room.
Yes.
You don't have to have it right in your head like that, because all of a sudden what's happening is you're only hearing it inside your ears and you're not hearing it out here anymore. So it's already very unnatural.
It's a lot of
And
information.
then to be natural, I find it pretty difficult. So I have one on for the sake of just in case I want to see what's going on, because I'm also listening to that, not listening to it. I'm actually listening to it. But I have one off and I've got my natural ear. So for me, that works that way. So a little experimenting around that would be worth it.
Okay, cool. So in summary, 3 options. Put the headphones on. If you're fine with it, just rock with it. Number 2, if you're having trouble with it, you can go one on, one off. Or 3, you can just take them off.
Yeah, I mean, and he can add echo in there or not echo in there. There's all these things that later they can adjust and make it sound more interesting.
Wonderful.
But they cannot change some aspects, which is the overall what you've inserted in. So what you've inserted in is your voice, and in that voice comes the emotion. And what we're saying today is that the tone must be filled with emotion that is free and that you have a choice over. That it doesn't go out of control. Suddenly, because you get excited, doesn't mean it's got to squeak, or you get very heavy here and then you get stuck in this area and you can't seem to modulate. It suddenly goes over there and there's nothing in between. So more control. And of course, breathing and posture affects these things.
So is that shall we go there now? Should we talk about breathing and posture? Okay, cool. So talk to me about it. Like, obviously breathing is an essential part of life. Everyone does it, hopefully. But bringing some conscious awareness to precisely what type of breath. I know for myself, even in weightlifting, the way you breathe can, like, basically, if I breathe in the most optimal way, I can lift 50% more.
Correct. Yeah. Because you use the abdominal muscles better.
So what do we need to know about posture and breathing? What are the key things?
So one of the things with voice is to use your abdominal muscles when you're speaking. Now, most people are not aware of that, but you can become aware of it simply with a straw, right? You can put a straw in your mouth. I don't know if you've got one, Dave, but we used to do this exercise together, didn't we?
We did. A pen wouldn't quite work, would it?
No, that's okay. But all you do is you basically put the straw in your mouth, you create a suction around it, and you go, circle from low to high, and you'll find that your stomach muscles are kind of really tensing up. Okay, there's another one you could do, which is the V, the letter V for Victor.
Through the straw?
No straw, just the V.
Oh, right.
Stomach muscles?
Yep, I'm holding my stomach. Yep.
And you remember Dave used to teach you about starting in chest voice and getting up to the squeaky bit, right? And make it more like a circle in front of you, so you're not going up and down for sound.
Yes.
Yeah, because the vertical is not really there. We're always speaking horizontally, always. Doesn't matter if I go really, really high or I go very deep, I'm always horizontal. I'm not lifting up or down, because then my larynx is going to keep shifting.
Okay.
And my larynx
posture straight? like what I'm getting.
You know, if you're going to sit, were you sitting or standing?
I did a bit of both because there's a stool in the studio. So yeah, a bit of both.
A bit of both. So if you are sitting, you must be sitting upright. So from your hips, straight up, you know, sit up, no crouching, because that's going to affect the lung capacity. It's also going to kind of bore out your voice, make it boring. It's going to drop. It doesn't have the energy that tilting back of the shoulders. So more, you know, straight back, you're almost leaning. When you stand against the door, you lean against the door, and then you walk away from leaning against the door, and you feel that tall feeling of shoulders back.
Beautiful.
You need that. But again, if you're stiff with that and you're feeling like, oh my God, I've got to stand up straight like this, that's going to affect your voice because you're not feeling comfortable. So there's some things to practice before we get into the studio. So
it's being upright and shoulders back, but not tense. Rather, still feeling relaxed and loose.
Yeah, it's a little bit of preparation before getting into doing your recording, because it's pretty intensive. Get it done in one day. You want to make sure you've got some practice before. So posture is important, and the breath goes down low into the belly button. You see, but then when the posture is right, the breath can go deeply, way down low into the belly. You know,
and
so you can feel that.
I'll just say to the people watching this, they can't see out a picture, but I'm actually got my finger on my belly button and using it as almost like a marker in my head to be like, all right, breathe into the finger that's on the belly button. And I actually did that when I was in the studio recording mine, because what I found is that I had to be so on point with my breathing. If I wasn't, I got tired out within like 2 minutes.
That's right. Yeah, because there's no support. So
it was so important, the breathing.
Yeah, that's awesome, because you actually proving the fact that what happens with that breath, it's so deep that it can sustain you. It sustains you. You know, the richest blood sources are the bottom bits of the lungs. It sustains you, and it's like the life force or air comes into you like a vacuum cleaner anyway. You don't have to go. It just comes into you if you allow it. It comes into the belly. So what happens when you put the hand on the belly button and you push it out with the breath, just to make sure you know how to do it, you push that hand gets pushed out with the breath. So it's not like a bag. You're filling it up.
Yes.
Yeah?
Yes.
A good exercise for that would be to go the real slow, Dave. The slowest, the better. But not holding. Yeah,
I love that. I used to do that in rugby, you know. That exact drill, that was like a tss. But you know,
not too quick though, Dave. You don't want it all out at once. You got to go, because otherwise you're blowing all the air out, right? You want to learn to sustain that. How many seconds can you get before that you have nothing left?
That's nice.
It's a bit different, you know, to
it's
just
nice.
go, because otherwise everything comes out at once, and you know you got to breathe in again.
That's it. And I think, like, for all our spiritual friends who are up with the chakra system, what we're doing here is really lighting up the sacral and the solar plexus, which are like the flow and the power center of the body, and really making sure they're nourished and abundant and full, and that they can sustain output for, you know, let's face, I mean, my book, I was in the studio, I think 5.5 hours. That's kind of a standard time. If your book's a little longer, you might be in the studio a bit longer.
And how fast you speak too, Dave, because I mean, not everybody's going to be speaking. The faster you speak, the less time you're going to need.
That exactly.
So it depends on your energy, because some people will be speaking slower. So and that's
okay too. I just want to make that clear. That's okay if it's a bit slower too, right?
Yeah, I think it's going to be natural. Like if you're a go person and your topic is high energy, you've got to be me. Well, you got to speak faster.
That was me. Yeah.
Depends on your topic. If it's a real sort of sad story, you know, you're going to slow it down, because it's the performance of your book. You know, You've got to match. Your voice has got to match. It's like singing a fast song, a rocky song, a pop song, a classical song, a jazz song. Where am I? Is this an evening song? Is this a daytime song?
It's like singing Beyonce with a Jimmy Barnes voice.
Exactly, you know, like, whoa, So let's watch how much we experiment and find out, like, who are we? What is my voice and what's my topic? And am I imitating somebody else's voice? Because that's important that we don't do that, you know. You can learn from other people, but you've got to come and find your own voice. And what is the topic? And is your voice tone matching your topic? So going back to the breath, when it's deep, the larynx, what happens, the larynx, which is where the voice box is, right, comes down a bit lower. So when it comes down a little bit lower, you have a fuller voice, which means you have greater volume. You're not forcing it as much because it's resonating better. It's resonating, which means it's vibrating easier, and I'm not forcing it, which means I'm going to save energy. I can keep speaking for longer. See, right now, I'm making sure that I'm just resonating freely so that I've got volume without pushing it. Because there's a lot of people forcing their voice like this, and, you know, you can't do that for 5 hours straight.
Or
well, you can, but, you know, like if you can, I mean, it doesn't mean you're going to do that forever.
And that's really why we've, for book writers watching this, that's really why we brought Maria in, is because anyone that's worked with us knows that we're all about grace and ease and supporting the creative process and bringing the thing out into the world. And I saw the potential for people to be forcing the voice. I was like, we want to bring in some support here. So all these different points, guys, that Maria is sharing with us will help you to perform your book with grace and ease and flow and not fall in a mess at the end of the day. Instead, be sustained.
And be enjoy it. You know, you're going to go back and listen to your recording. I mean, I had to go back and listen to every single song that I recorded. And I'm like, and then I had to get somebody else to listen to it, you know, to get some feedback, because I'm sick of hearing myself, you know. I can't hear it anymore. It's like I need somebody else's opinion. But once it's out there, it's out there. So, you know, it's kind of that thing that'll be there forever. So important. Yeah.
It's a good point. And I'll also just add that it is editing an ebook, like after it's gone live on Audible, the process of like updating a file is far more difficult than actually editing a book. Like, you know, we tell a lot of our book writers, you want to update your physical book, just let us know, we can arrange it in a week, sort of thing. But an audio book, there's a far more difficult process of 6 to 8 weeks, if not more, to update it. So you really do, with your audio book, you want to nail it on the first go, and so you want to be prepared.
Because there's a continuity of it. To cut a section out, you're gonna hear that voice change, you know.
Yeah, awesome.
And it's a lot more challenging. Yeah.
So where should we go now, Maria? What do I need to know next?
What else we haven't, you know, pauses, maybe how to use your pauses. Sometimes we could be speaking too fast and not remembering that a pause allows people to listen better because it creates the space. We only hear words, Dave, because of the space. If there was no space, we wouldn't be able to process words. So the use of pauses, and you want to keep going, and you've got to go, calm down. I say this, shh. Pause. And I hate pausing.
I really want to talk right now, but I'm pausing.
Our ego's like, no, keep going. And it's like, shut up, pause. Pausing is good.
So it gives emphasis, it gives impact. And as they say, the magic is often between in the space.
Exactly. And I'm learning more about that myself. It's something that I've realized is really, really powerful.
Great. So we'll just put that one there for people to take with them, is get those pauses happening. Okay. What else? How about, we touched on a little bit before, but what about voice projection, Maria? Like you come into the studio, like, where do we aim? What do we focus on? How would I know if I'm projecting my voice at a sufficient level? Talk to us about that.
So with projection, of course, you know, you've got an engineer who can make you as loud as you want. You could have the softest voice and he'll make you loud. We know that.
That's good to know.
on the other spectrum, on side of the spectrum, is that even a singer can belt out tunes to the point that can almost distort on the other side, and you think, why would they want to do that when the engineer just has to lift the volume and get that result? The difference is this, is that you've got to have a free voice, soft or loud. It's really not about volume, but it's about, is your voice even, like, are you too quiet that we're not getting your energy out there, right? Or are you too yelly and forceful because you're trying too hard? So when we're talking about projection, more than anything, it's power versus force, okay? I have to go back to that. Some of us are forcing our way through being heard, and some of us are just utilizing the power of our energy in what we're saying. From a spiritual, I suppose, perspective, or a psychological perspective, physically speaking, power and energy in voice is allowing the voice as opposed to forcing the voice.
It's not, I can just feel myself just go, don't need to like kick down the door, just need to stand where I am and allow it to come out.
In your case, there are people that have got
yes.
No, because there are people that have got really, really soft voices. Generally speaking, they're not aware of that. They're not using their full potential. So some exercises would help that. Start learning to project your voice. Start learning to find it for some, okay? But for others, they're too aggressive. They're too powerful. They're too yelly. They're forceful. They're just forcing their voice, or their jaws are locked. And so there's this stern sound in their voice. It's not open. It's really pushed and like it's almost grinded. It's like this, there's a tight, everything's just tight, and it's like, you got to listen to me, okay? It's like, it depends, what did their father speak to them like? What did their mother speak to them like, What culture, where are people coming from? The Asian, for example, tend to have a lot of very closed mouths, Japanese, very closed mouths. So it affects the tone. So look, generally speaking, on the big side of it is not to be too worried about it, because the engineer will tweak the volume. But it's not about volume. It's really about putting yourself out there with your message and giving a balance of what you're trying to say. Not too little and not too much. Have that control.
And that kind of leads us into the next thing, which is about the idea, and we've kind of touched on this, but the idea of making or going into the studio with the frame, with the mindset of, I want to make this a dynamic, entertaining performance, whatever that means to the individual.
That's if they come from that background of feeling like a performer. It depends what kind of place. Sure.
So what would you say? Because I guess my take on this is well, when I went into the studio, I wanted to bring the words to life. I wanted to have emotion behind every word. And if that meant lower tones and a bit more warmth in the voice than that meant, or if it meant like a bit more of a gun-ho and like, whoa, let's go. My intention was to bring the thing to life. So what would your I'm just curious on your thoughts on this item.
So for me, it's about visualizing it.
Okay.
You visualize words. You visualize who you're speaking to, who's the person that this is directed to. So before you go in there and read your book and record your book, get that avatar, the perfect avatar that this book's made for. And you've got a room full of them, right? You have a room full of them, and you're up on you're up on a stage, or you might go, no, we're around a campfire, or we're in a small room. I'm in a big hall. Figure out where you are. Who's your audience? Visualize the whole thing. Put color on it, put sound in there. Get the face of your avatar and really love your avatar. You've got to love them, you've got to this is for you, like a gift for you. And you perform it, you give it to them. And because you're able to visualize your words and you're dishing it out, you're not just slapping the food on the plate here's your mash and your beans. No, you make it beautiful and you give it like a gift. You wrap it.
I love
That's
that.
how you give your voice. That's how you give your voice to people.
And it really brings, for me, that approach really heightens the purpose and the why. It's like you're in there in the studio, you're open and you're doing your thing, you're giving your gift, and you know why. It's because there's these people right in front of you that need what you've got. And it's like when you switch on the purpose, everything else switches on as well.
It's the same as when you were writing the book. I mean, what were you thinking? Like, I'm thinking, no, this person, I could just visualize this person. They need to know this bit. And this person needs to know this bit, you know. And so it was fueling my language. It was fueling my direction for the book by not just about me. It's who's going to receive the book. It's the same thing with the voice. Who's receiving it? How old is the person? What type are they? You know, there's energy types out there. You know that, you know. Applying. They want some facts and figures. Do they want to hear my voice very dead set serious? Or do they want some colour? You know, maybe combining some of these aspects. You know, you've got your directors, you've got your compliant person, your faithful, loyal, you know, person. And then you've got your, what do they call it? The influencer, the one that's out there being the joker. And you got to think, how do I change my voice for these types? I love profiling because of that.
And I love playing with that as well. And maybe that's something that people can explore in the session with you is like, for example, a leadership book or maybe an accounting book that is typically for a dry audience, but the contrast is that the narrator is bringing it to life.
Yeah, but if they sound like a joker and they sound too high pitched,
credibility falls through the floor, right?
Just way up the top here. And I doubt that would happen, because how could somebody write a book with a voice like that? You know, I don't know. But you sort of are presuming here that everybody's voices match their type of work. But sometimes we're caught in between, you know. We are one person, but we're being trained to be another. You know, we had a dad that was like this and a mum like that, but I really want to be like this. I'm now writing the book of who I really am, but I still sound like the past, you know. So, you know, so there's all this stuff going on, and how would you know? Your friends get used to you, your family gets used to you, but a vocal coach stands back and goes, but why? What are you trying to say? And, you know, what's happening here? Are you being true to the sound of your own voice? And so then what happens, Dave, you know, I give you exercises to change that voice. There's some exercises you can do. There's some recordings that you can change and listen to, like you record your voice, make the change, listen to it, learn to love it. You might hate it. And then we'll need to talk about that. You know, what it is that you need.
Awesome. And I think and we'll talk in just a moment about, guys, what the session with Maria involves if you want to take up that offer. And I highly, highly recommend you do, because as you can see from it's been half an hour that we've been together now, she's really got the goods and knows exactly what's up with your voice. But Maria, just before we get into that, I just wanted to have a chat with you about some, and maybe we can just have this as a bit of a freestyle chat, as about the mindset, because a lot of people that come to Book Retreat or come through the Book Writers program, they are coaches. They do have training in psychology or spirituality or something like that. Maybe if we could just pick up a couple of beliefs that would really serve people to just kind of load them up in their, like banging my head, load them up in the brain before they go into the studio.
Yeah. Okay. Well, the first thought that came to me was somebody might say, look, this is how I sound, this is how I am, and this is all there is, right?
Yeah.
That whole thought, then this is, you know, like it, lump it or leave it, this is what I sound like. For some reason, voice is very personal, Dave. You know, you start talking about people's voices, it's like, oh my goodness, you're talking about my soul. How dare you? You know, this is private. You know, there's such a protection around voices. Like, don't you dare, you know. Well, I'm allowed because I'm the voice coach, but most people are freaking out about being critiqued about their voice, you know. And I sort of say, well, treat it like you're playing tennis. You know, it's just about how you're hitting the ball. That's all it is, you know. Somehow this belief in our mindset that our voice can't be changed and that's who we are. It's our face. So I say to people, your voice is like your face. You know, if it needs makeup, you put the makeup on. You know, if you need to pluck some hairs, you pluck some hairs. You know, you know, you do whatever it takes. You know, Go on.
Yeah, I was going to say, guys, what I love about working with Maria, and we've done quite a bit of vocal coaching in the last 12 months, is that because I was one of those people when I first was introduced to the world of vocal coaching, I was like, oh, my voice is amazing. I'm Dave Thompson. Don't you know who I am? My voice is spectacular, known throughout the lands. And so I was a bit protective of it too. But what I love about Maria's approach is there's no dogma. There's no like rigidity in, oh, it has to be this way or whatever. What I love about your approach, Maria, is you really go for what's the authentic voice and where are you at now, and let's see if we can expand that or give you some new options or maybe free you up or just make your experience of using your voice more graceful and easy. And that's what I love about this.
The thing is, Dave, you don't lose anything. You always can stay the way you were. We're just going to give you more options. You know, if you close your mouth like this when you want to speak all the time and you want to go back to this, you can always go back to this. But now you have the option of doing this. I now have the option of relaxing my jaw if I want. Because why? Because not because Maria's just told me, but because we actually did these exercises and I could feel the difference, you know.
Exactly.
And you know, I've seen the benefit of being able to, you know, loosen my jaw. But when we go back to the mindset, like you said, the thing is, you know, people will say they're very afraid of touching, you know, they're having their voice touched and they're scared that you're going to criticize them personally. So we're not criticizing, as you know, we're just adding more bows, strings to your bow.
Yes.
All right?
Feathers to the cap.
Feathers to the cap.
Coconuts to the fridge.
Yeah. Why? Why are we doing this? Because our intention in the book is to reach people.
Yes.
To be able to be understood, to be appreciated. Like, you want people to enjoy your audiobook. I mean, I don't know how many audiobooks you've listened to that you enjoy listening to.
Yeah, some are a bit not that nice. And it, I mean,
not natural.
I think the medium of audio can create an intimacy with your people, with your tribe, like no other medium can. And
totally.
When you create, and so this is maybe a business piece for the people who are like, all right, well, what's the return on investment? You get your voice right. You make it accessible and attractive to your ideal client. They're receiving you. You're creating that intimacy. The flow-on effect of that is they're much more likely to take up your offers. Whatever it is, they feel they know you. It just smooths the whole thing, introduces a whole new element of grace and ease, makes you more attractive. That it brings your prospect closer to you when you get your voice right and you get your tone right.
There's so much statistics out there that people are actually engaging with others more on voice tone than the words that they speak.
Right. There you go.
That's the research. Follow me on LinkedIn, because every day I post research that shows that voice tone, especially with leaders and politicians, they actually found that voice tone was more important. The charisma in their voice was more important than the actual words themselves. Okay. So we know there's a lot around tone. People got to feel that they know you, that you're comfortable to, that you're open, that you're not pretending and you're open. And, you know, you're in a car. How small is the car space when you're driving and listening to an audiobook? Or in your ears? Look how intimately it's inside of you. It's going inside of us. Do we want to hear a voice that's annoying? No. It's like, get out of here. It's not real.
If it was annoying and if it was boring or if the voice was off, then and you're offering a program that people can come into, how likely are they to, you know, they're less likely to take that up because something's turned them off.
And it's got to match the message. You know, to me, when we're talking about mindset, is what are you trying to say and who do you need to be to say this message? Because now you're not just writing it anymore, you're delivering. It's like public speaking. You're public speaking. You are delivering now. You're not just writing, even though writing is delivery and the book is a delivery, but it becomes audio.
Yes.
So audio transcends into another stream. It goes into our body. We feel the vibration of what you're saying now. I know that visual can be the same, but right now we've got two components. We've got the visual and we've got the auditory. So who are you being and what is your message requiring? You know, speaking at a eulogy is very different to speaking at doing a speech for a wedding.
Or a sales event or whatever it happens to be.
Yeah. And singing different songs requires a different presence, right? So it's kind of like you've got to switch in and out, almost like an actor, like we said, acting thing again. Well, everybody can act, and we act every day, Dave. We act every day. We're just not aware of it because we have different voices for different people, and you're not aware of it. The thing is, what I'm going to do is raise the awareness of that and put the control back in your hands, not being unconscious of I suddenly changed my tone when I was speaking to my daughter, and then when I was speaking to my boss, I changed my voice. Oh, I didn't realize that. No, I don't do that. Well, you do. We've got many, there's a TED Talk just come out on that. We have many voices for different people. All day we're changing our voice. We're not aware of it. But in this audio book, we're going to be aware because we're doing it intentionally and we're doing it on purpose, and you want to capture that. So the mindset's got to be that I must be willing to look at what I've got, expand it, because now I'm communicating it. Whether these people end up become speakers, because this is great. If you're going to become a speaker, you might have to go out there and talk about your topic.
That's right. And that's the other thing I want to point out is it's not just, you know, we're doing this session for people, for book writers about to go into the studio and really nail their audiobook, but really the benefits, they just keep going afterwards as well, carrying forward into whatever workshops, speaking, marketing materials that you're producing afterwards as well.
Sure. Yeah.
Awesome.
So does that
I think that's great. That's great. I think that's, I'm just seeing if I've got anything more to add.
We did projection.
Yeah.
Comfortable your own voice back. We've talked about that.
I think we've covered it, Maria. Is there anything that you see? I mean, I feel very complete.
I can just say one other thing. I think a lot of people will listen back and hate the sound of their voice. I don't know. I
and
do
what would
get
your advice? What would your advice be if that happened?
Oh, I can't believe it. I'll do this. You know, you're going to need to trust the producer and a couple of people. Maybe Dave, you're going to be listening to these books, right? And you're going to go. You're going to get some feedback. I mean, I'm happy to create a feedback loop on the audio books too. You know. But the reality is, once it's done, it's done. Okay, so you're just going to have to rest with that.
Well said.
And so this is stage one of my life. You know, next audiobook or next time I do a speech or whatever, it's going to get better. So there's a sense of we can get really fussy too. So after you've done your homework, you've done your research, and you've done all these things we talked about today, right? And you've done whatever you can, you let it go.
Yeah. Well said.
Because it's a work in progress. It will take time to actually become aware of everything I've spoken about today. My goodness, you know, for example, singers train for years and years and years. I've never stopped training, and I'm, you know, I don't want to tell you how old I am, but I've never stopped training.
Yes.
My birthday's coming up soon, but the point is, you never stop training. You want to keep being able to communicate better or sing better or speak better or get some more feedback. Listen to yourself like, oh, I hate it, but then you get to like it. And you go through this journey and just you know, be patient with yourself. As long as you've done your best and you're seeking advice and, you know, have some people to run it by too. Maybe, Dave, is there a possibility of just doing a very small section of the book before you do the whole book, you know, to get getting used to some things, you know.
That's right. And yes, absolutely. I'll just speak. I just love what you said there about doing what you can, taking on board the new information, and then letting it go. Because the truth of the matter is, it doesn't need to be perfect. You don't need to become.
It doesn't matter.
You don't need to become a voice master overnight. But what this session is about is to give you a handful of really personalized coaching tips, unique for your voice and your book, so that your performance is just up-leveled even more, so it becomes more attractive and more accessible.
And many, many times I've gone, oh my God, did I just do that? And everybody says, Marie, that was fantastic. We love it. I'm going, oh,
So don't be too hard on yourself.
Go down. It goes, you don't know, like I've just done all of that. And I'll go, did I really do that? Not that I can't afford to get too personal about it.
Yes.
At the same time.
I love it.
But I know in the back of my mind that I've done everything I can. Do you understand? So I've done everything I can. And then I go hands off.
Great. Love that approach. Love that approach. So guys, if you want, I highly, highly recommend you take up what we've got for you is for anyone in the Inspirational Book Writers audiobook program, as part of that package, you've got the opportunity to have a session with Maria. It's a voice coaching session to get you recording studio ready. And there'll be more details about how that works down below, and you can find out about that. But essentially, if you've loved the stuff that Maria's put out and you're like, I could really do with a handful of coaching tips to get me ready for the studio, you absolutely must see Maria. And if you want to do a bit more work with her as well, that's totally fine as well. Maria, is there anything you want to share about that?
And just remember that it's not about information. It's about how does it work on you physically. Like if I could say to you, you need to loosen your jaw, but you may not have a jaw problem, So how would you know? You wouldn't know because you're used to it because you've been doing it every single day, right? So everything's unique and everybody's unique. This is general stuff we talked about today. And you just need to go, okay, but I don't know exactly like specifically what is it that I can do to improve what I've got. So you'll send a 5-minute recording or something. We'll take it from there. Yeah.
Awesome. And guys, there is a very special deal for Inspirational Book Writers. All the information on that will be down below or in this email. However, we're sending this to you, and you just need to get in contact with Maria to take that up. I highly recommend you do. Maria Pellicano, thank you so much for coming on and sharing your wisdom with us.
Thank you, Dave. I appreciate it.
That was a great session. I'm like just fist pumping about how good that was. Is there any final words that you would like to share with our Inspirational Book Writers before we sign out?
We've covered it all, Dave. I'm very excited, and I hope I get to work with all of you guys and just get to taste of your passion too, and how I can take that out and get it delivered even more this way.
Awesome. All right. Well, thank you so much, Maria. Guys, take up the session offer with Maria. Just do it. It will be well worth your while, and it will create an awesome audiobook. I need to work on my breathing, as we just identified. Breathe into the belly button. And Maria, thank you so much, guys.
Thank you, Dave. Thank you, and to all your team too. It's awesome.
All right. Take care. Thank you so much.
Thank you.